I'm Robert Loscalzo. I live in Whitestone, Queens, 22nd Avenue. This guy came into my house and did such an extraordinary lighting setup and moved my furniture and I mean all the stuff you do to get it to look nice.
So can you tell me about the moment you first realized storytelling or filmmaking, meant something to you?
My father, who was an industrial designer and a creative person, he had an audio recorder and had music that he recorded decades before. And as a child, I would be allowed to play with this tape recorder and I would record my own voice and I would play it back at different speeds and became fascinated with the process of recording. On my mother's side, her parents owned a Kodak film laboratory with a storefront where they would sell cameras and imaging technology to customers. So on the one hand, I had the audio, and the other hand, I had the visual. And so there started my thinking that there's actually something fascinating about all of this. And when you make a recording or when you take a photograph, you have somehow succeeded in freezing time. So this is the power of video. This is my grandmother in the basement of her house 20-something years ago, describing the same collection of cameras that I now have inherited and have in the other room.
Just the nonsense. And then we come to the treasures. This cabinet was all old cameras that he had from when he had the business. So we kept most of them. Maybe one day, grandson will appreciate them, I don't know. By then you wouldn't even know what they were for.
And appreciate them, I most certainly do. And we moved that entire cabinet, hook, line, and sinker with all the cameras, into the next room over in my house. So I decided to go to New York University and study media production, and specifically cinematography and lighting and camera work. And I became the go-to guy at NYU for the years that I was there in the 1980s, when if you were directing a project and you wanted it to look really right and get it done on schedule, you'd see if you could get Loscalzo to shoot it for you, because my reputation was that I could, bring the technical and the artistic skills to bear and get you out of any trouble that you might otherwise have been in. So I had a really good reputation and won the top award there in 1988 at NYU. So my objective was to be a cinematographer on motion pictures of increasing notoriety and budgets. And I started a career here in the New York area doing low-budget filmmaking. And got as far as, there was a feature we made on Long Island where the director was none other than Frank Caracci, who had been with me at NYU in the film school. Later went on to direct the Adam Sandler comedies that everybody knows. And that was like $1 million film. We call it a low-budget film, but still we were able to do really good work, I thought, at that time. And it was his debut feature, and it was certainly my first time working on 35 millimeter with a decent crew. But it was really, really difficult. And in the other work that I did in low-budget filmmaking, it occurred to me, you're going to have to toil in this low-budget filmmaking with no real guarantee that anybody's going to promote you to anything other than that. And there was a fork in the road where a lot of my collaborators moved to California to pursue the Hollywood dream. And I'm not going to say that I thought it was irresponsible necessarily, but like, dude, there's no guarantee of employment there, and yet you're choosing to go there, and it was a tremendous risk, which to me, I did not want to take that risk. So, okay, there it goes. Now it's letting me move. Come around here, get this thing. This one we didn't look at. We did an interview with her on a couple of cameras.
No words were spoken. I just remember seeing him. The next day, when he did talk to me, he said, I passed where he was in the woodworking shop with Doc Dewar.
I'm in the same position there interviewing her as you are interviewing me now. It's like the same kind of give and take and hang on a second, a battery is dying, we need to change a lens, whatever. But we interviewed our grandmother back in the year 2000, possibly 2001. So this is going back 25 years ago. And this is the power of digital video or any kind of media that you've preserved. You know, how many families would think to actually do this and have a couple of hours of interviews with the elders in the family telling stories of importance from decades before that we had never heard before.
Do you have a favorite piece of work you've done? And if you did, what made it meaningful to you?
There was a travel company based in Queens at the time that was looking to hire young people to create travelogue videos that would promote their tour opportunities all around the world. So myself and a couple of fellow graduates of NYU at that time, we applied, we were hired by this company, couldn't believe the opportunity because we were given a budget for equipment. We were given, monthly assignments of going to different continents around the world with organized tours where our job was to document the workings of the tour and how satisfied the travelers and the customers were who were taking the tours. It turns out, looking back over my whole career, which lasted like more than 30 years, and I didn't expect this, but I was looking the other day at some of the other work that I've done over these years, and one thing that still holds it together after all this time is one of these travelogues that we did in Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. And that program, which I think is around 28 minutes long, which sounds long, but this thing really books as you watch it. It had the perfect combination of scenery, of a photographic approach to the scenery and making sure that everything was shown in a very clear way that would actually excite somebody watching the video to want to be there in Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. And just cute things like travelers cavorting with koala bears, like holding a koala bear, or shaking the hand of a kangaroo. These things just don't happen in the United States, and you have to go to more far-flung places to see them. And we saw them, we experienced them. There's a photo of me holding a koala, which is one of my prized possessions to this day. And that whole experience of traveling there and being in the Australian outback, in seeing some of the monolithic rocks that are in the desert there that are incomparable in the world, in taking Cessna flights that bring you right over these obelisks and monoliths. We did all these things. And the trip was incredible. We had a feeling that the video that we were capturing on the trip was incredible. We got back to New York and it definitely was. It turns out to be one of the greatest things I was ever involved with. And I didn't expect to be saying that, because I've done a lot of other things with far bigger budgets and bigger crews and bigger lighting packages and all that. But at the end of the day, it's a compelling program and it actually is fun to watch. Ready for this? See, sheep. Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific.
We are Globus and Cosmos Tourama.
When you start working for paid customers and you have to, you got to do what it is that the paid customer wants. So to some extent, your fingerprints are on the work, but it's really not entirely your own creative project. So as a creative person, you want to find some other projects of a personal nature to do on your own time. And there have been 2 projects now for decades that I've been pursuing, still trying to complete. One of them is the immigration of my grandfather on my father's side from Italy to the United States. And I call this Loscalzo in America because it's really 100 years worth of assimilation and, how did we go from having nothing and coming on a boat from Acciatura Potenza in Italy and settling in New York City to where we are today. And I've got all this material and interviews that I did with my grandfather back in the 1990s, and I have to figure out how to structure this. The other personal project that I've been pursuing now for 18 years, I can hardly believe it, is that the city of New York decided to redevelop an industrial area called Willets Point, which is not far from where I live here in Whitestone, Queens, and replace this whole industrial neighborhood and all the businesses there with something else, whether it's affordable housing or a soccer stadium. And this was decided by the administration of Michael Bloomberg back in 2007. And it seemed to me that anybody who went there with a camera and got the before situation and then got the after situation would have an interesting artistic comparison of, did they build what they promised they were going to build, and that kind of thing. Little did I know that the politics of the situation were so thorny that we would be here 18 years later with barely the first buildings being built of what they had said they would do back in 2007. So I have interviewed every elected official, I've interviewed hundreds of business and property owners, I've documented the demolition of the old neighborhood and now the construction of the new one. And somewhere in there's going to be an incredible story of how the city plans a project like that and brings it to fruition, and the damage that they do to people's lives and livelihoods, unfortunately, along the way, who didn't ask to be involved in any of this. And that's what really fascinated me. So I've got to get this project done. I've got to get the project done about Loscalzo being in America for 100 years. I've got to get these projects completed, and yet I don't seem to find enough creative time where I can go into editing and actually start assembling what I think the project should be. I volunteered to make that video, which was shown at the graduation for the kids from the school, the same elementary school that I attended back in the 1970s. Unfortunately, my father ended up dying in the year 2020, not related to the pandemic, but complications of his hydrocephalus disease. It was a few years later, in 2024, that my mother died of complications from Parkinson's. And all throughout that time, my sister and I were intimately involved in every aspect of their care, right to the end. And, you know, I'm satisfied that we did everything that we could have possibly done to make their final weeks and years here as enjoyable as they could be. By the same token, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, when people have parents and they die, this is usually the time in a person's life when their schedule opens up a little bit, because you're not going to have to worry about their household or their medical appointments or cutting their pills or hiring and paying their aides and all the avalanche of work that you were doing. All of that kind of goes away when they're not here anymore. So my expectation was, gee, I'm going to have a little bit of creative time now, and I'll be able to dedicate that to my two personal projects that I want to do. Little did I know that the universe had other plans for me. I started to develop severe digestive problems. I mean, I could not eat without having severe pain and feeling all kinds of twisty things happening afterwards that you've never felt in your life. And God willing, you never will feel them. My urine turned the color of motor oil. I kid you not. There were other symptoms that are so horrific to a person to experience, I'm not even going to try to describe them on video here, but suffice it to say that I did what most men who I know would do, which is to say, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to assume that my body is supreme in the world and just sort everything out by itself in a week or so. It doesn't work that way. The other thing I've learned about myself is what a tremendous collection of friends and family members I actually have. And a human being doesn't maybe realize this or think about it until they're in a predicament like I am, when people come out of the woodwork to wish you well, to help you in any way that they can. And it is so humbling and I was going to say puts a smile on my face, although you wouldn't know it from my reaction right now, but I'm just overwhelmed with joy in realizing that I do have a support network for myself that I would put against anybody else's in the world. And I have to believe that if there's anyone who can defeat this medical problem, it's going to be me. Going to a new appointment because there's been a metastasis of this cancer to the pelvic bone. And I think they're going to set me up for radiation therapy. I'm not sure if I need to be at this end or the other end, but we got to start somewhere, right? It's Loscalzo, L-O-S, Robert.
Date of birth?
March 14, 66.
All right, so yes, we are that way.
It's always Murphy's Law, right? You come to this end, you go to that. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, no problem.
Very modern looking facility here.
Okay, thank you so much. All right.
Hey, it's me from upstairs. We are ready for you up here.
Send me something in my chart that I can fill out. I just said when someone is back, then they'll send
No
it.
problem.
Left side.
Okay, and my people are with me. Okay. I'm gonna put that there. Okay. Back in another exam room.
Okay, so first of all, you have had radiation in the past?
A couple of times, yes.
Right. Most recently, we radiated the T-spine?
That's correct.
Okay, back in October. Okay. Now, do you want any, I have to ask you any, questions regarding how you feel about yourself? Like, do you feel like this diagnosis has been, do you ever have any thoughts of harming yourself?
Of harming myself.
Right, like we have to screen everyone for suicide. So we
No,
wanna make sure
I
that
have no
you're-
active plans to
Okay.
commit suicide.
Good, okay, good.
Now, being a very creative person and a
Yes.
thorough thinker,
Yes,
I do think about what the end of life
right,
looks like
yes,
and whether there could eventually come a time when I'm better off asking the medical community, is there anything they can do to hasten death
right. But
rather
right
than
now
me
you
having
are-
to put up with this,
Yeah.
okay? But not in a responsible way. Not that somebody's going to be calling me and come in and find me
Right,
unconscious on the floor from a suicide attempt. Like, that is not happening. What are those absorptive foam things up on the wall? They're in every room here, and they're like these odd shapes. And there's really no clue as to what purpose they serve or what is that? So you are.
So, hi, so I'm Dr. Ma. It's very nice to meet you
Nice
and
to
your
meet you.
family.
Nice to meet you.
All right, so my nurse filled me in a little bit. And I heard you're here to see me to talk about some radiation to a couple areas that seem like could be problematic.
Correct.
Right? Basically, the idea is,
Hmm.
I know there's this screen protector here, so I don't know if you can see it very well. This is you on your back. It's flipped, so actually this is your left side, this is your right side, okay?
Okay.
And then this is kind of your belly area, this is your spine area.
What type of scan is this?
This is a CT scan. One of the areas is right here. That's the pubic ramus. Okay.
Where it's kind of disintegrated? Or
yeah.
how would
So you see how everything should be symmetric. So you see,
Yep.
this is your left side. There is that wispiness, the gray, the white. Some degree of that is normal, but you see how here it's a lot more
Yep.
mixed. So that's where we see that there is some tumor affecting that bone there. Okay, so the idea is we treat that before it becomes more of an issue. Now, radiation can weaken bone too, so if we're going to talk about side effects, the radiation can do that too, but obviously the tumor is already doing that. It's already kind of eating through the bone, it's caused a fracture. So the idea is the radiation is not going to help repair bone that has already been damaged, but it can kill the tumor and then prevent it from continuing to eat through more bone or affect the bone. Okay, meaning you come in sometime in the next week or so, we do the planning session. On our end, it takes about a week and a half, but since you're going to be on chemo the next 3 weeks, we'll just time it so we squeeze it in during your off week, and then you can go back to your chemo afterwards. Okay?
Okay.
It was really great to meet you all. Sit tight, give them a couple minutes, okay?
Appreciate everything. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
That was like she showed you the images. No, they didn't do that last week.
Should we go to the car, or you want us to?
Hi,
Sister,
brother.
who's been tremendously helpful to me in this whole cancer ordeal.
No need to thank, as we say all the time.
Okay.
We're happy to help.
So as I understand it, now I'm going to have 5 consecutive days where I have to come here for radiation therapy. It's going to be difficult, not impossible, but you got to do what you got to do. If I make a plan for next Tuesday that I'm going to do a certain project, I guarantee you there'll be a text on my phone from Memorial Sloan Kettering facility telling me, sir, you are required to come in next Tuesday to consult with a new oncologist about a new treatment that is available to you. And that'll turn into a whole day affair because they're going to add a blood work appointment, they're going to add some preliminary scan appointment, and you know what you thought was going to be a day available to do something or other work, gainful employment, is taken off the map. And if you think you're going to be able to complete the medical appointment and come home and then do the creative work, I got something else coming to you, because you're going to be so exhausted from having to take the show on the road and meet with these doctors and listen to them and absorb the information that's given, that by the time you come home, or I come home, sometimes I just kind of collapse from lack of energy and extreme fatigue, and the only thing I really want to do is crawl into bed. And I'll do that, and I don't set an alarm, and I'll wake up and it's 90 minutes later, which is a huge chunk of time at the end of the day. And you wake up and it's like even past dinner time, and the whole day that you thought might have been available is just gone to the medical issues. Okay, I'm going to start gathering the supplies. Now, the gloves. Actually, got to take the shirt off. Now the gloves. The gloves are a little undersized. Not the most convenient, but we make it work. Okay, so this is a saline flush. And what I do is I shoot out some of the extra that we just don't need that much of. And then I'm going to come down here and actually attach it to the biliary drain. So what this is doing is it's cleaning out the little tube, the drain that's in there, and it's making sure that there's no infection and that everything's going to be, all will be good, we hope. And to think 2 years ago I was a perfectly functioning human being and I didn't need to do any of this. And now there's a hole in my body and I've got to have a biliary drain and deal with these things. But such is life. Okay. Just have to go a little slowly on the stairs to keep my balance. But this is pretty good. Oh, that's perfect. I got this new blue sofa bed at IKEA because I'm optimistic and I want to watch movies on that big TV over there, and I think I'm going to be around for a good long while to do it.